In this video, we'll be figuring out if Android is really open source or if it's just kind of a myth. So if you look at Android, it's a very complex operating system. It has some parts of Linux like the kernel, it has some parts of Java, and then it has parts that Google created themselves for Android. Android was essentially not made by Google. Google actually bought Android, and that's why we have so many complexities. That's why we have some parts of Android that are under the open source category, and they have been termed as AOSP or Android Open Source Project. This part of Android, as the name says, is open source, and you can make changes to it and put it in your name if you want to, and the code is freely available on the internet on the Google website and can be used to create anything that you want from it. So for example, Mozilla, when they created their own operating system, they used a lot of code from Google and the Sailfish OS as well. And if you've ever used the Kindle or the Kindle Fire, you can see that the operating system is based upon Android. So anyone who wants to create their own operating system like a custom ROM like CyanogenMod or Lineage OS can use this code, make something out of it, and also put it in their name. But as you saw earlier, Android is not just AOSP, and it is a very complex operating system. It has a lot of other parts as well that do not belong in the AOSP category, and that includes the Google services and the Google framework as well. And if you've ever used Android, you might have noticed that a lot of Android is based upon Google services only, and most of the Google services like Google Play services, the music application, the camera application, the browser application, and most of the basic applications that you use on your phone are not open source. They are also a part of Android, but they are closed source, so you can't actually use all these applications and make changes to it. So if you see in terms of space, you can see that the AOSP takes up a lot less space than the Google services. So if the AOSP is around 200 megabytes, the Google services would turn out to be 300 megabytes, something like that. So on an average phone, the ratio of open source to closed source is 2:3. So if you have 2 parts of open source software, you have 3 parts of closed source software. So if your phone just came out of the factory and it has no separate application installed, still most part of your phone is closed source and only some part is open source. So if you're liking this video till now, make sure you hit the subscribe button because I keep making videos like this. If you're wondering, this was always not like this because on Gingerbread, the ratio of the Google services was really less and Google relied on AOSP to get all the features to the end users. But as the Android versions have progressed, the open source part of Android is becoming smaller and smaller, and the closed source part of Android has expanded a lot. And most of the native applications that you use on Android right now are closed source. So most of the closed source applications that are present on the Android operating system are connected to the Google Play Store and they get automatic updates, so they don't have to push out big updates. So if there is any problem with the music application, they just have to update the music application and they don't have to push out another big Android update and update the whole operating system. So this way the applications can be updated easily and Google can push out small updates and only push out an incremental Android update when they need to. But it also has some downsides. If you have open source applications, they are better integrated into the operating system, and because they use the native system resources like the library files and all, they don't have to carry it inside the APK file, and that's why the size of the native applications on Android is quite small. So for example, the open source camera that we had on Android was around 1 or 2 megabytes, but the Google camera is in tens of megabytes because it has to hold a lot of resources so that it can run properly on all the phones. Many people who create custom ROMs and are the custom ROM developers have issues with this, and they don't like this move because it is very easier to add features to open source application. And we saw that with the native camera before Google camera came out. We had a lot of features that were added to the native applications like the dialer or the calculator app. But now, as we have most of the native apps as closed source, there are not much inbuilt features that have been added to these applications. So for the custom ROM makers, they can only make changes to some specific open source applications and the Android framework in itself, and not make changes to the most of the native daily usage applications that the normal user uses. Most of Android was open source like 3 or 4 years back, but now things have changed and a big part of Android is now closed source. Let me know in the comment section below if you like this move by Google and what you think could be a nice solution for this problem. This video's notification shout out goes to him. If you guys also want a notification shout out, comment down below after I've turned your notifications on and I'll give one guy a shout out in the next video. If you liked the video, make sure you press the thumbs up button, and you can also watch some previous videos on this channel.